This piece of property located in Wake County was given to the state for public purpose, public good, and for health. There's been a vigorous debate probably since 30 years about use of this property. I remember discussion in the early 1980s. 10 years ago, the state embarked upon a policy to end providing mental health services at that location. We today are looking at an interesting opportunity. I believe what we see today is a good plan for the use of this property. It is not a perfect plan. All of us at this table could tweak it a little bit, perhaps, to make it a perfect plan. But I believe that the search for perfection sometimes can paralyze people. This plan of a long-term lease to the city for a reasonable market value is appropriate, and I hope the General Assembly will consider that the funds being generated by this will go for mental health purposes. This is a plan that will stand the test of time, and this is a plan that will preserve a legacy, the people's legacy of North Carolina.
Thank you. Thank you. Other comments? Commissioner Berry.
I have a question.
John?
The lease that we're proposing to the city of Raleigh, does it include all of that property, including the soccer fields, the food runner, the healing place, and the warehouse?
Does not include the food runners as part of the agricultural plan.
But does it include all the rest?
Yes. Yes.
Point of order then. If this is approved, we have items after this vote to amend leases, and I don't believe we can do that once we approve this lease. We have lost our right to amend it. So I don't know what you want to do about that.
I don't really think that's correct.
Thank you, John.
Well, I think it is.
Well,
and, I think
Commissioner
you're gonna
Berry,
be,
the lawyers have scrubbed the agenda, and if you want to
so have
raise it, well, the agenda is proper. The item is on the agenda for a vote and discussion, and so we'll vote it up or down. Are there other comments about the
This
proposal?
lease will have nothing to do with the reorganization of DHHS and its consolidation.
It's absolutely true. This is a simple lease project at a reasonable price with revenue coming to the state. It allows the state to use the buildings there for state employees for a time certain, and it sets in place a way to create, in a city that's to grow by more than 1 million people in the next 10 to 15 years, a parcel of land that will be conserved for the history of North Carolina.
Excuse me, Governor, but I'd really like to know what led you to the opinion that once this vote is taken, if it is in the affirmative, that we no longer have the right to amend the Healing Place lease?
The lawyers have explained to us several times that the lease can be amended and that the agenda is in proper order, and we will go forward with this vote. Is there further discussion? General Cooper.
You know, we have state, local, and private resources that are being joined here to create an extraordinary opportunity that will improve the quality of life for generations to come. Parks and open space attract economic development and jobs because they enhance the quality of life. I think it's short-sighted to analyze this as a pure economic transaction for the state. It's an investment which has far-reaching implications. It'll be one of the places to go when North Carolinians visit the capital city, just like the museums and other attractions that we have here. It'll attract millions of dollars in private investment. Some of that has already been committed. It will encourage quality economic development around the park, and thus it will increase jobs and tax revenue to the state. The city of Raleigh and private donations will significantly improve the property that the state of North Carolina will still own. This is an extraordinary situation. However, we have had like deals with local governments in the past. I ask that our deals from the state with local governments be pulled over the last few years. We have leased for $1 to the county of Yadkin for park access to the Yadkin River. We've leased for $1 to the county of Alamance, 191 acres for the Mountains to the Sea Trail, which we have done on numerous occasions. We've leased for $1 to the county of Caldwell, recreational facilities along Wilson Creek. The list goes on because the state government realizes that we're in a partnership with local governments. We're working to improve the quality of life of North Carolinians all over the state. And I think this is an example of the kinds of things that we can do to improve quality of life while at the same time enhancing the right kind of economic development. Now, it is critical that this state address our issues with mentally ill. We have a lot of work ahead, and what we do with this decision today, even if we had a lot of money coming in, it would not even begin to dent the problems that we have there. And I certainly encourage the General Assembly to work to make sure we deal with those issues, because I know as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the state, this is a significant problem for law enforcement officers on the beat. It's an issue that we have to deal with. I think that it's important that we move forward with this, and I will be voting yes.
Are there others to speak? Please, Commissioner Goodwin.
Thank you, Governor, and members of the Council of State. After studying all sides of this issue in great detail and after prayerful consideration, as I'm sure all of us have, I believe that supporting this proposal is the right thing to do for the people of North Carolina. There's a saying that I'm sure we've all heard, that we should not let the pursuit of the perfect get in the way of obtaining what is good. Deliberations about eventual use of the Dix property and the vision many have had for a destination park go back at least a decade. I know even while I was in the legislature many years ago. And it's not just something that's been discussed over the last few weeks. Ultimately, this park will both spur economic development and add to the quality of life for our residents and visitors to our great state. The potential benefits to the city and the region and North Carolina are immeasurable, making the negotiated terms fair and reasonable. Therefore, I will be voting yes to preserve this rare green space as a park with our citizens' best long-term interests in mind.
Others, Auditor Woods.
For me, and this is for me, Beth Wood, for me, one person, 2 weeks was simply not enough time for me to get my arms around all the information that I felt like I needed to make the decision, either yes or no. And my staff has reminded me that because of the magnitude of this particular item and all the many, many parties that are interested in this transaction, that this very well could be a topic that comes before us for audit. So for those reasons, those two reasons, I'm going to be abstaining from voting.
Thank you. Other comments? Commissioner Berry.
I'd just like to say that I have a problem with the information you've heard before about the fact that we can amend the Healing Place lease after we have approved this, which it's obviously going to pass. I also have a problem with the fact that I believe this lease is way below fair market value, and I think you do too, Governor, because of the report that you sent to the General Assembly, which is required if a transaction is below fair market value. I believe that this is a raw deal for North Carolina taxpayers all over the state, and for that reason, at this time, and for what I discussed before about our right to amend the lease once this is approved, I'll be voting no.
Are there other comments? Governor Dalton.
I would just say I think this is a good investment. I think it's a logical investment. It doesn't have to be at fair market value. I think it's at a fair return. But as the General said, we've had leases before at $1 a year. Local governments can give to other, governments can give to other governments by gift. We just had that with the Department of Navy gave us some property down at the ports because it's going to enhance that. But as far as the fair market value return, Raleigh has been the best city in the nation to live, work, relocate. This will add to the values all around Raleigh. It's going to keep a higher quality of investment. They've said that. I mean, it's a logical thing, and any appreciation in the property comes back to the state. It's a lease, it's not a sale.
Other comments? If I might, please. You all, the time we've had to serve as governor have given us great opportunity to travel across the country and around the world and talk to people about what it is they value in terms of a relocation or an expansion or in terms of simple quality of life. And over, from CEOs and from regular people moving into North Carolina, you hear people talk about the values of the people of North Carolina and the things that we have held sacrosanct as a people. And since I began my time of public service, one of the things I learned quickly was the goal that we should all have to preserve green space and clean air and clean water for the future of the people of this state for lots of real good reasons. Obviously, environmental activism is one, but most importantly, economic development and quality of life for individuals. The vote we're about to take allows that to happen. We've consistently invested in properties and in water projects across this state for lots of reasons. We just did that with the headwaters in western North Carolina. The people who've sat around this table have consistently, for years, made good decisions that have helped things in preservation for future generations of this state and have allowed North Carolina to become a hallmark of leadership and excellence around the world. This is the right thing to do from my perspective, and I thank all of you for allowing this opportunity to become. I think it's a really important vote, not just for Raleigh, but for North Carolina. And with that, I call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Abstaining, 1. The record will so note, and as of today, we have a lease ready to go.